Stop letting negative thoughts control your life. Introduction. Welcome to another episode of LinguaSync, where we explore the language of the mind and how it shapes the way we experience life. I'm your host, Jamie Walker, and today we're taking a closer look at something we all struggle with but rarely talk about openly: negative thoughts. These thoughts don't usually arrive with a loud warning. They slip in quietly, often in moments when we feel most vulnerable. Over time, they can become so familiar that we start mistaking them for truth. Think of negative thinking as a quiet thief. It doesn't steal everything from you at once, but slowly takes your confidence, your energy, and your sense of possibility. It tells you things like, you're not capable enough, or why even bother? The danger is not in having these thoughts. They're a normal part of being human. The real problem begins when we believe them without questioning, letting them dictate our choices and limit our potential. But here's the encouraging part. Your mind doesn't have to be a battlefield where you're always losing ground. With the right awareness and daily practices, you can interrupt these patterns before they take root. You can learn to notice when your inner voice turns critical and gently guide it towards something more constructive. This isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about building a mind strong enough to handle challenges without being weighed down by constant doubt. Rule 1. Recognize the enemy. The first step to overcoming negative thinking is simply to recognize it. Most people move through their days on autopilot, unaware of the constant stream of thoughts shaping their feelings and actions. Stress, worry, and frustration don't appear out of thin air. They begin as quiet phrases in your mind. Thoughts like, "I can't handle this," or "I'll never get it right," may seem small, but repeated often enough. They create patterns that weaken your confidence. Recognizing negative thinking means catching those phrases before they grow stronger. It's like noticing a leak in your roof early. If you repair it right away, the damage stays small, but if you ignore it, the problem spreads. The same principle applies to your inner dialogue. When you shine a light on your self-critical thoughts, you immediately weaken their grip. Awareness doesn't erase them, but it prevents them from silently steering your choices. One practical way to build this awareness is through reflection. Keep a small notebook or use your phone to jot down the exact words running through your head when you feel anxious, discouraged, or overwhelmed. Seeing those thoughts written down reminds you that they are not facts. They're temporary mental events. Over time, you'll begin to notice repeating patterns, and with each moment of recognition, you gain more control. The simple act of naming a thought as negative is the first real step toward freedom. Rule 2. Replace the poison. Noticing negative thoughts is only half the battle. What matters next is what you do with them. If you catch a thought like, "I can't do this," and simply leave it there, the space it occupies will still influence you. Think of it like removing a weed from a garden but leaving the soil empty. Sooner or later, another weed will grow back. To truly shift your mindset, you need to replace the poison with something constructive, something that helps you move forward. Replacing negative thoughts doesn't mean forcing fake positivity or repeating unrealistic affirmations. Your mind is quick to reject words that feel false. Instead, aim for language that is hopeful yet believable. For example, change "I'll never figure this out" into "this is difficult, but I can learn step by step." That small adjustment makes the thought less paralyzing and opens the door to action rather than avoidance. At first, this process may feel awkward because your brain is used to following its old pathways. Imagine walking through tall grass along the same track every day. The path becomes easy to see and easy to walk. Creating a new track requires repeated effort, but with time, the new route becomes clearer while the old one fades. Each time you replace a harmful thought with a constructive one, you are walking that new path, gradually training your mind to respond in healthier ways. Rule 3. Control your environment. You can work hard to manage your thoughts, but if your surroundings constantly feed negativity, the effort will feel twice as heavy. Just like plants need sunlight, clean soil, and water to thrive, your mind depends on the quality of the environment around it. Spend too much time with people who complain, criticize, or discourage, and you'll soon find their voices echoing inside your own head. This doesn't mean you're weak, it simply means you're human, and humans absorb the energy they're exposed to. Think of it like sitting next to someone who smokes. Even if you're not holding the cigarette, you still breathe in the smoke, and over time, it affects your health. The same principle applies to your mind. Being surrounded by negativity slowly clouds your thinking and drains your energy. That's why curating your environment is so important. Choose carefully who you spend time with, what media you consume, and even the physical spaces you occupy. This doesn't require isolating yourself or avoiding every difficult situation. It's about balance and intention. Seek out people who encourage growth, consume content that uplifts, and design a space that feels calm and organized. Even small changes like decluttering your desk, listening to motivating podcasts, or adding reminders of your goals to your environment can shift your mindset. When your surroundings support your well-being, thinking positively stops being a constant battle and starts feeling natural. Rule 4. Train your inner voice. Your inner voice is the companion you hear more than anyone else in your life. It speaks to you in quiet moments, when things go right, and especially when things go wrong. If that voice is harsh, it can drain your confidence before you even begin. But if it is patient, encouraging, and steady, it becomes a guide that helps you face challenges with clarity and determination. The way you talk to yourself often shapes the way you respond to the world. Training your inner voice starts with awareness. Notice how you speak to yourself in everyday situations, after making a mistake, missing a deadline, or struggling with something new. Do you immediately say, "I'm terrible at this," or "I'll never get it right"? Or do you lean toward, "This is hard, but I'll figure it out"? Those small phrases matter. Over time, repeated criticism chips away at your motivation, while repeated encouragement builds resilience. A helpful approach is what I like to call the best friend rule. Imagine your closest friend facing the same problem you are right now. What would you tell them? Most likely, you'd be supportive, constructive, and kind. Now try speaking to yourself in that same way. At first, it might feel unnatural, especially if you've been self-critical for years. But with practice, your mind begins to adopt this gentler, wiser voice as its natural tone. And when that shift happens, your inner dialogue becomes a true ally instead of an enemy. Rule 5. Focus on what you can control. One of the greatest sources of negative thinking is the habit of worrying about things that are completely outside our influence. We replay past mistakes, imagine worst-case scenarios, or overanalyze how others might judge us. It's like trying to hold back the tide with your hands. No matter how hard you try, the water will still move. All you're left with is exhaustion and frustration. The more time you spend on what you cannot control, the less energy you have for what you can. The shift comes when you redirect your attention toward the areas within your reach. You cannot control the weather, but you can bring an umbrella. You cannot decide what others think of you, but you can choose the effort you put in, the way you prepare, and the way you respond. This doesn't make challenges disappear, but it ensures your energy is invested where it can make a real difference. Even small actions taken consistently create a sense of clarity and calm that endless worrying never will. A practical way to train this habit is through a simple exercise. When something troubles you, write it down and divide it into 2 lists. What I can control and what I cannot control. Then make a conscious choice to release the second list and focus only on the first. Over time, this practice rewires your thinking. You stop being trapped by helplessness and start building a sense of agency. And when your mind is busy creating solutions, negative thoughts lose the power to keep you stuck. Rule 6. Turn pain into fuel. Pain is one of the strongest triggers for negative thinking. When something hurts, whether it's failure, rejection, or disappointment, our first instinct is often to ask, "Why me?" That question can easily spiral into self-doubt, bitterness, or even hopelessness. Left unchecked, pain becomes a heavy weight that slows every step forward. But pain doesn't have to remain a burden. It can be transformed into energy that pushes you ahead. Think of pain as raw fuel. At first it feels overwhelming, messy, even dangerous. Yet when you decide to channel it, that same energy can power determination, clarity, and resilience. Many people have built their greatest achievements not in spite of pain, but because they learned to use it as a source of strength. The difference lies in perspective. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" ask, "What can this teach me?" That small shift changes pain from an obstacle into a teacher. One practical method is reframing. For example, if you failed at something important, you might tell yourself, "This is evidence I'm not capable." Instead, reframe it as, "This is feedback that shows me how to improve next time." If someone doubted you, resist the urge to sink into resentment and choose instead to let their doubt remind you of what you're truly capable of proving to yourself. Each time you reframe pain, you reclaim power from it. With practice, pain no longer breaks you. It fuels your growth and sharpens your focus. Rule 7. Practice daily gratitude. Gratitude is one of the simplest yet most powerful tools for quieting negative thinking. When you focus on what you already have, your mind has less room to dwell on what is missing. You cannot feel truly grateful and hopeless at the same time. The two simply cannot coexist. This makes gratitude a natural shield against fear, doubt, and constant comparison. It shifts your perspective from scarcity to possibility. The beauty of gratitude is that it doesn't require grand gestures. You don't have to wait for major life events to feel thankful. Each morning, you can pause for a minute and name 3 small things that bring you value. A supportive friend, a warm cup of coffee, or even just the fresh air outside your window. These small acknowledgements may not seem powerful at first, but practiced daily, they slowly retrain your brain to notice the good more often than the bad. You can also weave gratitude into everyday moments. When someone shows kindness, take a second to appreciate it. When a task goes smoothly, remind yourself, "I'm thankful this part worked out today." Over time, your brain begins to expect the positive instead of scanning for the negative. Gratitude is not about ignoring problems. It's about balancing your view of reality so challenges don't completely overshadow the good. And when that balance grows, negative thinking has less space to take hold. Rule 8. Live in the present. Negative thinking often thrives when we spend too much time in the past or the future. In the past, our minds replay regrets, mistakes, and conversations we wish had gone differently. In the future, we imagine problems that might never happen and worry about outcomes we cannot fully control. Both directions pull us away from the only place where life truly happens, the present moment. Living in the present does not mean ignoring your past or refusing to plan for the future. It means giving your attention to what is unfolding right now, because this is the only space where you can act, choose, and create change. When your mind is anchored in the present, there is less room for spirals of worry or cycles of regret. The present becomes a foundation for clarity and peace. A practical way to stay present is through small habits of mindfulness. Take a few slow breaths when your mind begins to race, noticing the air moving in and out of your body. When you're eating, focus on the taste and texture of your food instead of rushing through the meal. When you're with someone, listen fully to their words instead of planning your next response. These simple practices draw your attention back to the moment. The more often you return to the present, the less power negative thoughts have over you, and the lighter your mind begins to feel. Final thoughts. Negative thoughts may never disappear entirely, but they don't have to control the direction of your life. They are habits of the mind, patterns that can be unlearned and replaced with something healthier. Each time you recognize a harmful thought, pause before it grows and choose a more constructive response, you weaken its influence. It's not about perfection. It's about steady practice and the willingness to guide your thoughts rather than be ruled by them. The 8 rules we explored are not quick fixes, but daily tools to strengthen your mental environment. From recognizing the enemy to practicing gratitude and living in the present, each rule builds on the others, creating a mind that feels lighter and more resilient. Change comes gradually, through small choices repeated over time. The more consistently you use these tools, the more your inner voice shifts from critical to supportive, from draining to empowering. Remember, your mind can either work against you or stand beside you as your strongest ally. Every moment you choose awareness, replace negativity, or focus on what you can control, you are taking back ownership of your life. Challenges will always be there, but with a trained mind, they become opportunities to grow rather than barriers that hold you down. The future isn't fixed, it's shaped by the thoughts you nurture today. If today's episode gave you something to reflect on, I invite you to share it with a friend, a colleague, or anyone who might be wrestling with their own negative thoughts. Sometimes, hearing the right words at the right moment can make all the difference. You never know whose day you might brighten by passing along this conversation. Together, we can create small ripples of awareness that grow into meaningful change. I'd also love to hear your thoughts and experiences. Which of the 8 rules spoke to you the most? Take a moment to leave a review, send a message, or connect with me on social platforms. You'll find the links in the description. Your feedback not only helps me shape future episodes, but also builds a community where we can learn and grow alongside one another.